Hello, my friends. Thank you ever so much for coming back and joining me once again. We're back this week talking to Paul all about cybersecurity, but it's not just about the things that we can do to secure our accounts and secure that digital network and digital empire that we have access to. We also talk about the social implications and the social psychology that comes into our reality, and how sometimes that can be either manipulated by and playing into our good nature, and how that may cause us a security threat. And also, of course, what the stakes are when potentially a business unfortunately gets this wrong. So thank you ever so much for coming back and joining me once again. If you did enjoy the show and do enjoy this interview, why not subscribe? We'll be back next week with a brand new interview to hopefully enlighten you and give you some tools to be able to continue to move forward and create that demand rather than serve that market demand. So thank you ever so much for coming back and joining me once again, and I'll see you in just a moment's time where we will be talking to Paul all about cybersecurity.
Hello, everybody. I'm Paul Newton. I own a company called MentalTheft. Now, I come from a background as an entertainer. I'm a magician, a mind reader, and a hypnotist. But I now talk about cybersecurity. Think about it just for a moment, okay? If a mind reader decided to steal your username, your password, your mother's maiden name, your first pet dog's name, and maybe even the PIN number for your credit card, how much trouble would you be in? It gets worse than that. What I normally do is I nick people's usernames and passwords and then I sit in their systems for a couple of months. Because honestly, when is the last time that you changed your usernames and your passwords? How long could I sit in your systems and just watch until I see something very juicy and then steal it from you? That's what I do. That's what I warn people about. I'm a really, really annoying git who's trying to stop you from getting hacked.
Well, I think that's a very honourable thing to do. Firstly, to stop you getting hacked is the key there. But thank you so much for the time. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I was going to start with like, how do we look? What do we need to look for? But I think let's go like, world is over. What are the stakes here? If this goes wrong, what happens for a business owner, right?
Right. Business owner perspective, and I'm going to give you real life examples here, Colton. This goes all the way from you can listen to some of the stuff I spout off about, and you can understand why I worry about it. And hopefully, if you do things like using a decent password manager, if you do things like using multi-factor authentication, if you do things like systems so there's a few extra layers of security, hopefully you will never know it was even needed. Okay. And then the other extreme is I had a company contact me a little while ago. This is a company, not a massive company, but it had been running 140 years. It was a family run business and it employed something like 45 different people. And in their words, 45 different families relied on this business running. Some hackers got into their system. They spotted when a big payday was. They launched an attack and took all the money out of the bank account. And the next day, that company could not make payroll. Now it gets worse because that company didn't have any insurances of any kind. So no one came in to back them up. No one came in to sort out their systems. Nobody got their money back for them. Nobody chased them. You didn't have these incredibly intelligent IT guys that the insurance companies pay for. Okay. You did not have them coming in and backing them up. The company was wiped out within a week. Which one do you want to be part of, Colton?
Well, I'm going to go with the one that doesn't have the nuclear button option.
Mate, seriously, this scares me. Right, where cyber and where IT is concerned, I'm an idiot. Okay. As an idiot, I've learned if I listen to the clever people and maybe put in place the things that the clever people go, well, just use this password manager, we trust it. Okay, I'll put that password manager in. Oh, and look, it's a free one. They're not charging me. Or it's a fiver a month or something like that. You compare that to, don't answer this question verbally, Colton, but you compare that to how much money is in my bank account right now. There should be 5 grand, so I know I'm covered for my bills for the next 2 months. I've just checked it and there's £0 and 0 pence. What the hell do you do then, mate? It's that simple.
Oh yeah. So with that sad reality, the stakes have been set, right? What does a starting out business owner, someone who's starting out in business, who's either just launched or is like, right, shit, okay, we've got to get this fixed, smartish. What is like really, really simple stuff that you would say people should have a look out for or look to do, set up, etc.?
Right, the simple ones, I've kind of mentioned them quickly, but just Google password manager, okay? And what I want you to do is create a list of 5 password managers that fit you. Now, this is an important bit, okay? Because I see so many cyber companies going, use this one, it's the best. Use Keeper because it's great at this. Keeper is very good, by the way. Use LastPass because it's great at this. LastPass is very good. I've had a few issues lately. Go to this IT company, and use this one product. If you're going to go for a product that's pushed on you for reasons of finance or because they're getting great commission or because it's the one they trust the most, that bothers me. What I want you to do is look at 5 or 6 different ones, see what things they offer you, and be honest with yourself. If we implement this, can my business run in the way that I'm happy running it? Because if I'm going to tell you one of the biggest secrets to IT and security right now, okay? If you implement a new thing, when the people that are doing the work with you don't like it, they'll try and find a way to bypass it or break it. So what you need is something that works for you and your people. The sales pitch doesn't matter. All right. And to be honest with you, cost of some of them, you're looking at under a tenner a month. Okay. Some of them you're looking at under a fiver a month. There are great ones for that I've used and told people to use at £3.50 a month. There's some free ones that are spot on and brilliant if you're a really small business. But I don't care about the salesy stuff. I care about how do you work? What do you do? If you're going to implement this and it stops you being able to do your work, I don't like it. That's the first thing. So set up a password manager that's great for you. On every account you have, okay? And I'm talking social media, I'm talking banking, I'm talking finance, I'm talking insurance. Every account you have that controls anything that's important to you, make sure you set up at the very least 2 factor authentication. Sometimes people call it multi-factor authentication, and the differences are easy. So 2 factor authentication is literally I go to a website to log into an account that I own, and I tap in my username and my password, and I hit enter. Now, what it should then do if you've set up 2 factor authentication is we're about to ping you a message to another trusted source that you've told us to trust. This could be your mobile phone number, and it's going to send you a number. It could be a 4 to 6 digit number. And if you input that number correctly, we're going to let you in your account. This is just a second way of checking you're really you. Now, I have had arguments with a lot of people about this who go, but it's a ball ache. I don't want to do it. It takes extra time. Yeah, it does. Okay, there is just no messing about with that. The 5 to 20 extra seconds it takes for that text to come in and me to put in that number, well worth it when you consider the fact that emails and texts are going around the world constantly. So far today, it's 3:30 in the afternoon. So far today, I've had 3 phishing texts trying to get me to click link to give over some of my account information to people I don't know. Now, if that's happening all the time and people are picking up usernames and passwords all the time, your accounts are getting hacked all the time. So one of the biggest ways to stop them is to set up 2 factor authentication. Now, the reason, like I just said, there's a difference between 2 factor and multi-factor. The difference is this: 2 factor, it's 2 ways of checking you. Multi-factor is there's more than 2 ways. So if you've given that company, you can contact me by text and by email to do the check. That's multi-factor because we've now got more than 2 ways, and I have different ways. If I'm that company, I can randomize the different ways we check you are really you, and it makes it even harder. So now we're at the point that even if somebody's nicked my phone as well and somehow got my facial recognition to work, they still can't get into my account. Okay, that's it. If that's the only, do you know what? If people switch off this show now and they just go and set those 2 things up, I'm happy.
Yeah, and I think I was discussing a little bit before the show about this, and it's something which it sounds like a no-brainer to me, right? But of the generation, I'm of the world that has grown up on the internet, right? So I know how bad it can be. I know, and it's just something I do when I look at accounts or anyone close to me, you know, parents, partner, friend, etc., etc., whatever. I'm like, do you have two-factor authentication? If not, why not? Da-da-da. Then I add it in. If they don't know how to do it, I'll just go and do it. It's very easy. Go in settings, find it, right? And or another form, as we already alluded to, right? But the key there is just, it's just something I don't even think of not doing because I'm so used to doing it and it's always been something I've done. But I think the key there is in some ways like it's very hard for me to describe to someone when I know that something's suspicious. Suspicious email, suspicious message, suspicious link. But I just have like an instinct nowadays. I just have this instinctive kind of, oh, that's a bit dodgy. I had it today when someone was messaging me about a job and they were like, oh, we do it through this portal. I'm like, how about no? You know, instantly. But
Good man.
But I was just, that's because I don't know, I'm just wired to see it. I can see it from a social point of view, how, and I can also sort of tell, you know, when it's an automated system doing the messaging as well, because like I do a test sometimes where I point out obviously to the person who's messaging me like, oh, this feels like a scam to me, and if it's a person, they'll then react a specific way, right? Like, no, it's not. Yeah. But then if you get another generic message, it's like, well, you just proved my point there. This is what you've done.
Now, the scary thing there is the AI stuff is getting better and better. But though that recognition of when it's AI replying to you, I think that's going to get harder and harder, even for someone like me. Okay, and I am constantly looking at new ways they're doing this. And when you consider now, I've heard recordings of AI pretending to be people's own children by lifting their voice and then calling a parent and saying things like, I've been kidnapped and you've got to give them £1,000. But thankfully, in this situation, the other parent was sat in the car and called their daughter and said, are you okay? And she was like, yeah, I'm just on break. I'm about to go back into lessons. What's the problem? Oh my word, AI is getting cleverer and cleverer. Okay, so please be careful on that. But I'm the same as you. Right, so I've just put out what I call Scam of the Week. So once a week on a Monday afternoon, I do a 5 or 10 minute video that's live so people can chat to me on it as well. And it's just pointing out a scam that I've seen. So I've pointed out today, you know, the text message that people get, you had a delivery today, but there was something wrong with your address, so we haven't been able to send it to you. Please click this link. Now, in the last week, I've seen more of those texts go to listeners, viewers, and I've been messaged more about it than I have in the last 5 years. So I thought, all right, a lot of people are worried about this. I'm going to point this one out again. And then you look at the email address that it came from to the text device, and it's something@gmail.com. Why would the delivery company, be using Gmail? Then you look at the link, and it has nothing to do with the delivery company. Then you start, and it's all these little things that for me and you go, without even trying, I've got 3 red flags that I don't like. But we're not the target market for that, are we? The target market is the person who happens to be waiting for a delivery. And if I send out 100,000 of these texts, there's a chance that 1,000 of them might be waiting for a delivery.
Yeah, and then 100 of them might click it, blah 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 blah, right? And just quickly on that, I've always had the motto of like, let's say you get this text, okay, right? So I got this text, cool, and it's from Amazon, let's say, common one, right? My instant response is never click the text, never do anything. Go to the website. You personally yourself, manually go to the website, right? And do that yourself, because that way it protects you from clicking the link. And in general, right, I'll never really click a link, right? And if I do, it's going to be like I've already validated the source, etc., 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 right? Or like, oh, someone's like, oh, do this. And you can also, like, there's little things, and as you say, like humans, and we're going to get onto the social element as well in a minute, but you know, when people send a spam email, there's little things like, look, is it a blind CC, right? So we'll say at the top, is it a blind CC, right? This is a red flag. Especially, I'm seeing it a lot in my inbox as well at the moment, where they like send fake Norton emails, or like fake invoices that claims I've apparently had, I don't even know, let's just say $100, $150, whatever it is, taken from my account, or it's due on my account, etc. And I'm always just sat here going, this looks like a text document to me, but okay, maybe someone would fall for it. But then I do a check very quickly, and the reason I bring it to the show is these are just the natural checks that go through my brain when something like this happens. Is like, firstly, is it a CC'd email? Number one. Number two, what's the email actually called? Look in detail. Right now they're getting smart. So, for example, there's another one that I'll mention as well, which is like copyright infringement on Facebook. Right, I don't know how much content you got on Facebook, but I've got a lot on Facebook, nearly all of which I own, ironically. There we go. So this is quite fun for me. I like to play with them because I know I own everything. It's great fun. But anyway, that's another story for another day. And the crux though is like, oh, it's designed, I think, to an extent to be like a scare tactic, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm in breach of copyright. And it's because of, I guess, the news cycle reporting on like so-and-so lost their Facebook account because of copyright infringement. Now, it goes without saying, you should only be using content you have the rights to use, including music, including videos, including images, so on, right? But what I can tell you is if you're not, and Facebook come after you, what they're not going to do is send your Facebook page or message of profile a message to do it. Right, what will happen is very serious and very scary. It will be a letter from a lawyer stating a very specific set of things, or at minimum, it will be to your connected email to your account. First step, some of the time, right? Not always is it the old-fashioned way we send snail mail, right? But I thought that was important to mention. But from the social side, right? Because it's a lot of what you do, so it'd be wrong of me not to talk to you about that. What do we need to look out for? Because I think actually that's... Because you can educate yourself quite quickly on these scams exist, don't click links, have two-factor authentication, use a password manager, etc., 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 etc. Right? But
the something I'm going to stop you. I'm going to point out there is the advice you just gave on a text or a phishing email. Okay, brilliant, brilliant advice. I'm going to extend it. Works on phone calls as well, Carlton. Because if you're getting a phone, if you receive a phone call saying, "Oh hi, this is Paul Newton. I'm calling from your bank. You have some problem. There's definite fraud going on in your bank, and we need to stop it. To check I'm talking to the right person, can you give me your PIN number?" Right. If you get any calls from any financial or insurance institute that say they're working for you, your only response ever is this: "Brilliant. Thank you very much for the call. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hang up this call and I'm going to call my bank from a phone number that isn't this one, and I'm going to check this call is real." Okay. So it's like you just said, go and use the internet to contact that company in a different way that you trust. Exactly the same with phone calls. Now, if that credit card or that insurance company or that bank are real, they will go, "Thank you very much. That's a brilliant thing to do, and it's a great way to stop a load of scammers. I'm going to put a note on your account saying I've spoken to you and exactly what I need to talk to you about, and I'll make sure whoever picks up the call knows how to get you through to me. We're done. We are done with that phone call." However, if it's a scammer, they'll get annoyed. They'll get angry. They'll start trying to put fear in you. And you said a minute ago that these texts and these emails are blatantly done to scaremonger you into panicking. That's what they want. Because once you're in fear mode, you don't think rationally. Okay, we don't. We go into panic. We're in fight or float. We've got to sort this out. Oh my word, somebody's about to steal all my money from my bank account. Well, that means I need to move that bank account to this trusted new account that they've set up for me. How would you do that? My dad wouldn't do that if I was on the phone to him. You, for some reason, get these people going, "I'm going to trust this stranger and move this money to a different bank account." Oh, just stop. Take a breath. Have a think. Okay, and contact that organization in a different way that you trust. Nobody is in that moment. If that's what you do, the banks, the insurance companies, the credit card companies will have your back. Okay. If, however, what you do is you give someone you've never spoken to in your life before all of your PIN numbers, passwords, usernames so they can move it for you, you helped. You're in trouble. This is now going to be absolute grief to fix. Even if they come back and help you and give you all the money, I swear to you, this will be days, if not weeks, of you in panic now. Okay? please just stop, take a breath, think about it, and contact them in a way you trust.
And yeah, I mean, absolutely, I agree with all of that, of course. And I think it reminds me of the. I think it's mainly targeted at older people, as in like pensioners. But
Mhm.
there's like, oh, so and so, I'm from Microsoft, Amazon, insert other random big corporation, refund department, da 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 da. TLDR, the scam is basically they then go into what's known as inspect the element, which is a client side or a browser side manipulator, and they change a bank balance. It's heavily prominent in America. I'll leave
Yeah.
some resources below if I can find any. There's literally hundreds of YouTube videos that are just related to this on its own, some of
Yeah.
which are quite entertaining, but are therefore, I think the crux is to stop these individuals from doing it. But the crux is, oh no, we sent a load of money and you now need to pay us back in some weird funny way, right? Being either a direct transfer, cash in the mail, or insert target, otherwise gift card, some other weird concoction of
Oh, gift cards.
so on.
It
You
always
know,
makes me laugh.
but
How do they make the gift card one work?
I,
It does.
I don't know. It's very odd. But very very quickly, for those who maybe are not as internet savvy perhaps as us, right? What social cues are we looking for? What social engineering, right? We look at it from like when premises get broken into, right? It's normally actually the premises is completely fine, right? Everyone's got touch-in cards or etc. But actually, there's some social reality here, and there's some social, I guess, pushing boundaries that doesn't get questioned. So I think
Yeah.
that's if you don't mind, what do people need to look for either in a social situation, if it is a building, or in general for scammers? Because I think the tech side of it is quite simple to educate one on, but the social side's more psychology, and it's more about trying to understand how do these people who maybe have malicious intent leverage I think in some ways the goodwill of us as humans, right?
But I now work with a team of people who are absolutely brilliant. I said to you before we started, I see myself as the dancing monkey of the cybersecurity world because I'm good at entertaining people. I'm good at hopefully getting them to listen while I tell a funny story. But because of the stalking I've done and because of the places I've been, I now have a team of people that actually help break into companies. Please don't get me wrong, I'm not doing it to nick their money. I'm doing it because we're contracted by the companies to prove if their security works or not. We then come to break in. We try not to break things normally, but we're just going to attack them. We're after a something. That could be money, it could be data, it could be information. There's something we're after from this company. And do you know what? So much of it is about the social engineering. So much of it is about trying to put people in a position where they're going to willingly give us things. Now, sometimes that can be, you just mentioned that a company's got touch cards that let us into the building. Okay, so those cards are normally called RFID cards. They normally have a magnetic strip or a chip in them that tells who they are, where they're going, and they're coming in through main door number A. They have access to doors B, P, and D as well. They don't need access to doors E, F, and G, for example. Okay. If I want to nick the details on that card, there is kit that I can buy on Amazon. And I just need to get within a couple of meters of them, and it can read the card information and print one of those cards for me. Now, if I can do that with that kind of card, the panicky, worrying thing is I can also do that with most credit cards and debit cards. Now, all I need to do for a credit card and debit card is nick your PIN number as well. It's a different story. Let's say I'm just trying to get into a building and it's got RFID protection on it. So now what I do is I figure out who works in the places that I want to get to. Because if I need access to the accounting department, and that's through main door and then through door B and then through door C, obviously I need a card that gives me access to those. All I now do is go on LinkedIn and look for the people who work in the accountancy department. Then I figure out, is there a cafe somewhere near where they'll work? And if I've got a nice little list of the people that work there from LinkedIn, I've got faces to look for as well because they've all very nicely put their photos up for me. Now I'm going after those people. I get close to those people while they're in the cafe. I probably do a scan of their pockets, or if they've got their card on a nice lanyard that's got one of those pull off thingies, I'm aiming the scanner at that and nicking the information off that. So now, if I've picked an accountant who's, I don't know, mid-40s to early 50s, maybe he's got a shaved head, when I nick that card, I'm walking in looking a bit like him and going straight to the accounts department. It's a simple example, but one of my favorite examples, and this is going to annoy a lot of people. There's a lady on my team who is utterly brilliant. Okay. If I have trouble getting into a building, I happily call her because she is a genius. Now, the thing that she does, Carlton, is most cases, she will put on a fake pregnancy vest. She will then walk towards the building that she wants to get into, carrying a 4 cup tray of coffees that look like they're hot and some paperwork in another hand. And she just looks like she's having trouble with opening the door. Now, be blatantly honest with me here, mate. If you saw a pregnant lady having trouble opening a door, what would you do?
Well, you want to go and help them by opening the door, right? But by the fact you're bringing
Yep.
this to my attention, I'm going to add the yardstick in. Make sure you validate who she is, where she's trying to go.
Yeah, you
Would
should.
be the argument,
You
would
really
be the
should.
same. But I guess that says more about societal questioning as a whole, right? We're not. Well, maybe I am, but I'm a bit more out of the box. I think the average person probably isn't going to go. Excuse me. Are you meant to do? Etc. Right?
Are you allowed? Are you allowed in here? It even feels weird when we're just talking about it. But if you don't say, sorry, can I see a bit of ID as well? Or you could say, I tell you what, I'll take the coffees for you and you get your ID out. You're still helping and you're still not aggressively saying no, but you are going, this door needs that ID. So I'll take the coffees for you and I'll carry them with you. Okay, but people don't do it. Colton, I've seen her do this 100 times. She's never been stopped.
Oh, what do you say after that? I mean, I think it shows a very great, fantastic. It shows how wonderful and lovely the human race is. Wonderful, great.
Yep,
However,
yep.
uh,
And
you know,
horribly, I want to be part of that nice and lovely, wonderful human race.
doesn't everyone? But
Yeah,
when it's
yeah.
your livelihood, and when we're in this context, of course, we're talking about worst case scenario, and not, and just so it's said, not every pregnant woman holding coffees and paper is necessarily there to steal your information.
No,
She
I would
might
lay a bet that
just
most
be
of them
like,
are
shit,
nice.
I can't get through this door, help. But there's a bad apple in every cart, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And maybe in some cases it will be, haha, we got you in a controlled environment, haha, oh no, here's a security vulnerability.
It could, hopefully, it's one of my team, and this was a test, and we're going to teach you all the annoying stuff that we do to bypass you and your colleagues. It's kind
In
of the hope.
real realities, it's probably not, to be honest. So there we go. I mean, I guess in some ways it goes down to in some ways, when you have anything you want to protect, right? It could be valuables, it could be this, it could be that. The logic I always follow is how difficult am I gonna make it? Right? How difficult can I make
Yeah.
this for someone? And it's just about getting it, I think, in my view at least, to getting it to the burden of, it's like, oh, I can't be asked with that. No. It's just can't be
Spot on.
bothered.
Spot on. You've got to think of it as they're the hunters, they're the fishermen. Okay, the scammers, the hackers are the fishermen and the hunters going out to find their prey for the day. So what we really have to do, Carlton, is make ourselves secure to the point that they can't be bothered anymore. Okay, make ourselves that secure that they start looking at you and going, "You're a small fish. We're not going to gain that much. We've got all these things set up that's going to take us a long time to. So we're just going to bypass that one and move on to somewhere else." You've got to think of that the same for companies. Okay, how big are you? How big a fish are you? What do you have that I might want? Now, when you start talking companies, it gets more interesting because you and I probably both supply services or products two companies that are bigger than us. So actually, now what I'm going to talk to you about is a chain attack. So the hacker might purposely go after Paul Newton of Mental Theft. We know he's a small business, he's an established business, but there's only three people in the company that run the whole thing. So we're a small concern, right? However, if they get into some of my systems and then see who some of my clients are, there's some much bigger fishes there. If they can attack my email system and win, they could then use my communications to break into a bigger fish. So now, right, if we're talking personal, it's easy to figure out how big or small a fish you are. If you're talking business, it's not as easy because you could be the part of the chain that they're missing. So now all of a sudden, you're quite a valuable fish, even though your turnover isn't as big as, no, some big company that I can't figure out the name of right now. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and
So
that's the
business
other, and
owners,
that's the other quickly point I was going to make, because I think sometimes when we, especially when we look at like, it's talked about on the news, government funded X company goes after blah 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 company, right? And they've stolen all this data, and it's a big scandal, and all manner of problems, and blah 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 blah. Now, the thing for the audience to consider here is, how do you think those big attacks actually get trained, right? Yeah, you hear about when they attack Google, Amazon, blah blah, so on, right? But you might be the tiny fish that they use as target practice, right? And
yep,
what they might find actually when they use you as target practice, oh, actually, you're about to issue, let's just put a number on it, a £10,000 invoice, for example, okay, for consulting or for video or for space, whatever it is, doesn't matter, right? Oh, blah, 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 blah. Financial person, we had an issue with our bank. Can you send the invoice to this new bank? Anyway, so you get the point, right? I'm very fortunate that I grew up on the internet and I know about all these things because I grew up watching programs like The Real Hustle, showing my age, etc., 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 where these kind of entities were talked about, right? And I'm constantly consuming content and looking at content. But the thing that which you alluded to earlier, which I want to circle back to, is AI, because everything we've discussed so far comes from human social engineering or a combination of a digital attack. What we don't really have right now, and let's be honest, anyone who's actually put content out, me and you included, if this reality takes place, we're both very screwed, right? To the point where I don't know the solution genuinely, because if you can train an AI model on my face, my aneurysm, my sound, my voice, and etc., and then you can use clever editing, which I could do myself, right? Never mind a computer doing it, right? To get me to say stuff. So that's why I bring it to the show. I don't know. Do you know of a way? Can we protect ourselves? And or is it just something that we've just got to asterisk by saying, look, if you're going to do content, you're going to put your face and etc. out there. These are the risks that you accept.
I think that's the reality, mate. Me and you have chosen to have our faces, our voices out there for the public to know. Now, where you put those things, that's quite important. Okay, so if your content is normally on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, just as three examples of places that are out there. If suddenly people see you on YouTube, but your channel name's changed, why is that, Carlton? What's going on? Carlton, you've got 101 videos over there. You've got two here, and you're saying these are real and new. What's changed and why? I've got to question that. Okay. And then on the flip side, have you seen the video of I nearly called him Prince Charles, King Charles talking about cryptocurrency? There is an amazing video out there of King Charles talking about cryptocurrency and trying to tell people of a certain age that this is a very, very safe investment. It's complete BS. It's AI doing all of it, but it looks amazing. Now, I now use those kinds of videos to say, why would this person be advising on that? You've got to be looking for red flags that me and you have already talked about in texts and emails and phone calls. You've now got to be looking for those in video. Okay. I do not trust videos. I just can't. I've seen too many amazing things that can be done with them. However, that means I'm turning into a massive skeptic and I question everything. Really? What's the downside of that? I don't care. Okay. It means I'm a bit grumpier, maybe.
Yeah,
But it
yeah.
also means that my money's in my bank account.
I think that's a healthy. I think that's a healthy reality to have though on anything, right? Just so it's said, I think you should be skeptical of what's said on the news. You should be skeptical of this and this and this. And I'm not leaning into the whole
Yeah.
like everything's a conspiracy theory and corruption is a thing.
Nope.
Yes, people have done things wrong. Yes, people have the news has progressed something and said it was one thing when in reality it was something else. Yes, sure, right? I'm not here to have that argument. What I'm here to say is have an open element of skepticism and don't just be like, oh yeah, it was said on X news organization, so I'm going to believe it, right? And
Who's the money saving Martin Lewis might be? If you ever see a video of him telling you should do trading through this company, or a video of him saying this crypto scam is absolutely amazing, go and put your money into it now, well, I bet that's an AI scam. Okay, that's not his forte. That's not what he's aiming at. He would not be going around and telling you to do investments in different countries that you've never heard of. You've got to watch out for similar red flags that just make you go, oh, really?
yeah, I think there's a level though that these people obviously target like people who are desperate, right? People who are
Yeah.
in need, right? But also, I think a question or a point that I'll raise is it on brand for that person, right? Or not, right? Because anything we do that's quote unquote on brand, we're going to do semi consistently, right? Like me having a podcast is on brand, right? Hence why the show's here every week, right?
Yeah.
And then if you're like, you see something from me that's like, hey, I'm doing this thing that's like, yes, it might be, but you should go into it with a skepticism, right? So if for a long time I've done video and now I'm saying, I don't know, I'm sending pigeons, for example, right? Or smoke signals, right? Why am I
Yeah.
now doing that as a way to communicate when for the longest time I've done X, Y, and Z, right? And I
Yeah.
think, I think that's I think that's going to be the future, and I think it's the same with content, right? Because a lot in a marketing, and this one hasn't been, but very quickly on marketing, the people who are going to stand apart. There's been a big pushback about AI and potentially, I know there's a large legal conversation about it right now that I don't know enough to lean into, so I'm not. But there's been a large conversation about ChatGPT is going to take my job, or AI video editing, or OpenAI's video creator is going to take video production jobs, etc., etc., etc. And the reality is, for me anyway, yeah, but no, right? Will it be part of the use? Sure. Will it be
Yeah.
useful? Absolutely. Will it have a use case and make it more effective for you to do a specific set of things and become a part of your day to day? Perhaps, yes, in some cases. Will it completely replace you? I don't think so. Because the thing that I think people are still overlooking is yes, it's going to be good, but I don't believe, and I'm happy to be wrong here, but I don't believe it will ever have to the level of emotional intelligence another human will be able to have, which in turn means, because at the end of the day, regardless of which system you go through marketing wise, your content should connect with another human to then potentially encourage them to potentially make a purchasing decision with what you're talking about what you're talking about what you sell. That's in a nutshell what we're doing, right? The crux that requires us to understand human psychology. And you can teach an AI model to understand human psychology and read all the things in the world about human psychology, but I don't believe it's still never going to be a human, as in operate as a
No.
human, right? Because it's still going to be a machine. And that's when I say, yes, AI is a quote unquote threat for those who are not willing to use it, perhaps. But very quickly, what's your view? Are we all going to be replaced? Is it going to be something that's like actually, marketing can be completely done AI wise?
My view on that is not going to help much because I think we don't know. Okay. From what I'm seeing right now, I agree with you. And actually, I think as human beings, we're going to push against it very soon. And whilst me and you can sit here and go, okay, that AI just wrote a great um, one-page piece biography about me for me, it's not spot on. They've also picked Paul Newton, that is the artist, and they've put in a paragraph about him. Or they've picked Paul Newton, who's, I don't know, an actor, and they've put in a bit about him. We still have to double check and recheck these things. We can't just put them out as they are. Saying how good they could be in 10 years' time, mate, I don't want to lay that back. I just don't. Because as we've seen with technology in the past, the growth of it is not linear in any specific way. It kind of hits a point where it just explodes. And then suddenly you go, actually, that explosion, we've created 1,000 usable things, actually only 10 of them valuable and keep growing. So it's really hard to say it's definitely going to be linear growth in this way. It's going to go like this, then that'll explode, and then those bits will die off, and then these bits will be valuable, and we'll concentrate on them and grow them. And I don't think it's going to take over. What I do think is going to happen over the next couple of years at the very least, I think you're going to see a shift in people's behaviors where they want more human interaction. Okay. We've just had, right, just talking about the UK right now. I don't know where your listeners are based, but it's weird. Podcasts are weird. You never fully know who's listening. So I'm going to go to the UK for the moment. Okay. We've really still only just come out of 2 years of being locked out and told certain ways we can't do business. That has hurt the emotions, the mental health, the physical health of a lot of people in a lot of ways. We are now at a point where people are feeling more comfortable again to get back to pre-2020. Okay. We still have events that are being booked in late because insurance companies and bookers are scared. Right. We still have things that are literally, I'm getting booked for keynote speaking slots a month before the event because people don't want the expensive insurance claim if it gets shut down. Right. But a lot of those human beings are missing out on human beings. And I think if you are just running your business, trying to get everything automated and everything done by I actually think you're going to lose out. Because a lot of people that I meet want more human interaction. They want to see the whites of your eyes and they want to decide by meeting you if you're the type of person they want to do business with. So I think there's going to be a pushback against AI for the next couple of years.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think it's firstly a personal preference for those in business to choose how they want to do it, but also, I think I hate saying it, but community connection, and the reason why I hate saying it is because it's
Yeah,
becoming a buzzword that means nothing. But I think
yeah,
the concept of, not even necessarily, obviously there's that pent up demand. Obviously we're going to have people where we meet in person, of course, absolutely. But also I think there's a more acceptance reality of doing things like this on Zoom, right? Where we can have intellectual conversations via Zoom. We can have pre-discovery calls, consulting calls, whatever, via Zoom.
yeah,
So I think actually, I think I think personally anyway, there's going to be a large mix, right? And the risks aren't going to outweigh the pros in that regard. And I think so much of the AI concept or the AI scarcity comes from a video that, if I can find it, I'll link it below. But it basically just stated the reason why 95% of marketing works, especially influencer marketing, is because they see something outrageous and it gets people riled up behind it. And then that triggers the algorithms to then push said video, etc., whatever the piece of content is, and that's why it works. But that's also in our psychology because we don't want to
yeah,
think for ourselves, right? A lot of what we're discussing here, in theory, is self-explanatory, right? One of the reasons why this may get viewership is because we lay out how to do cybersecurity at the beginning, right? As a layman's term, and things to be aware of, right? Because for whatever reason, in the nicest way possible, most humans are lazy, right? They
yeah,
are. So if I can say this is your blueprint from A to B, right? Do this and this is the results you'll get. They're probably going to pay into that or probably do that because it doesn't require them to think about it. Is the reality, unfortunately. But for those who have really really enjoyed the show, want to see more of what you do, want to see what's going on in your world, digitally or eventually in person, hopefully, which is always the objective. Where can people do that? Where's people to reach out? Where's people to?
You can just type in mental theft as one word on Google. Anywhere you will find us. There's mentaltheft.co.uk, mentaltheft.com. The YouTube channel is still under my personal name, but I go out on there once a week. On Facebook, Mental Theft, the group, the videos go out on there as well. And on LinkedIn, you can find me quite easily. And it's you know what? It's funny, mate. What you just said about annoying people and making them want to get riled up. The thing that gets me with that statement and annoys me with that statement, and I know that statement is so true, is that if I say something while we're recording, like Paul Newton, the cybersecurity expert, says stop using password managers for these 5 reasons, and one of those reasons is it's annoying and it can take you 5 to 20 seconds longer to get into your account. Okay, it's a true statement. They're annoying, and I have technically just said stop using password managers. So you wouldn't be lying if you put that in the title. The truth is, cybersecurity expert saying use password managers is boring as hell. People won't click it. People won't go, well, I'll go see if he's talking about, these things being so bad for us that we shouldn't trust them and we shouldn't give them our password. We shouldn't do this. Mate, they're more trustworthy than my brain is. But your statement's correct. Me saying something like that or using that for a bit of clickbait will probably get more people listening to hopefully what is advice that could save them and their businesses. And it just annoys me.
Yeah, and the well, to end on, if you're gonna blame, I don't blame, but if you're going to look at media, you're going to look at how it works, how it operates, etc. This is the psychology that it follows. So you shouldn't blame. There's the saying, "Don't blame the player, blame the game." Right? That's the game.
Yep.
Right? So don't blame it. Right? If it works to be logical and helpful and etc. to get viewership, then that's what people would do. Unfortunately, that isn't necessarily what the case is. We've seen this with, large insert whoever you want to talk about it, say something drastic, piss off a percentage of the population, and then they rise to fame, some of which ends up in their collapsion as well. But, they at minimum get a load of attention, which in turn means they spin into selling something 95% of the time. And, I could talk to you forever about this, and I think it's something which we should be aware of when we consume marketing, because I don't believe, regardless, that anyone's not trying to sell something. The difference is they're either doing it directly or they're doing it indirectly through some form of psychology play that you may not necessarily be aware of. And that's why I discuss the psychological aspects of marketing as well, because I think if we educate our audiences, they're more likely to potentially make an informed decision about them and their business. Not about me, about them and their business, because they're more likely to then choose the right people for them that align with how they want to work and how they want to do. But if you were going to share a final piece of advice for those who've stayed for 46 minutes or so and listened this far on either cybersecurity or growth in general, what would you share with the audience specifically?
The one thing I'm going to leave with you is I've pretty much built my business on understanding there are people out there that are way more intelligent than me where cybersecurity and physical security are concerned. I happily say I'm a dancing monkey in this world because some of the stuff they do confuses the hell out of me. But, Colton, when I jump on a plane because I'm flying to somewhere nice with my family or with my friends, I do not sit in that plane and go, I could fly this plane better than the pilot. Why don't I do it instead? I trust in the experts. So please, if you have a business to run, you are great at running that business. Let somebody else who knows what they're doing do the bits that you don't understand. That could be accountancy, that could be cybersecurity, that could be insurance. Please let the experts do what they're good at, because there's more chance you can have time to focus on what you're great at. You can.
Thank you so much for joining me, ladies and gents. I hope you took value from this video and took some tips and tricks to how to improve your cybersecurity in this exciting modern age that we live through. So thank you ever so much for coming back and joining me once again, and I'll see you very, very soon.